The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is presented for information and entertainment only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed therein are not the opinion of Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fed15 podcast, presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we're going to discuss the latest news and info that feds need to know in 15 minutes-ish or less. The ish is usually me. So whether you are a seasoned federal employee or just starting out in your career, Fed15's got you covered. So grab your coffee, energy drink, green smoothie, whatever your choice is, kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed. We are your host. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I am Katelyn Murray. And Dan is coming to us as, are you like the third Blues brother today? Like, what's going on?
Well, it's daylight. It's daylight, and I'm not wearing sunglasses. No, actually, Katelyn, you'll come to learn this. If I've got the black T-shirt on, something's happened.
Yeah.
Okay. And in this case, it's twofold. First, sort of a moment of silence for just a titan in the work that we do. Harry Markowitz, legendary economist, came out of University of Chicago, created something called modern portfolio theory, which literally every Fed could use, to help themselves. So if you're listening to this, look up modern portfolio theory. If you want to go dive deeper into it, hit us up at Serving Those Who Serve. We'll help you any way we can. But Harry really changed the investment world. And we are better for having had him in the world and sadder for the fact that he has left it. So that's reason number one.
I think he did make it to 95 though. So he lived a nice long life. I'm excited for the Google Doodle that is going to pitch modern portfolio theory. I'm very excited for that. I keep checking Google every day and I'm like,
well, hopefully they know they're supposed to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm waiting for the interactive modern portfolio theory game. So it'll be a big hit for us.
And
what else
the other
is
reason
going on?
Twofold.
What's
the other reason the shirt comes out is I've got a rant today. Because no, don't mess with my feds. Do not mess with my feds. You mess with my feds, you're gonna have a problem with me. Now, all joking aside, don't mess with my feds. So if the black T-shirt's coming out, that means I've got something to say on that. So what do we have up today, Katelyn? So we can give them a little bit of a clue.
I know. Buckle in, folks. We got a spicy episode today. Well, up top, I'm going to cover a softball topic. Not too much ranting going on here. Just need to update folks on the 2024 COLA projections. And then Dan is going to talk a little bit about TSP, ESG and the TSP.
And a pay raise.
And a pay raise as well. So just to give everybody a heads up, we can dive into COLA. There's not really a ton to announce. If you didn't know, COLA stands for Cost of Living Adjustment. And there's an organization called the Senior Citizens League that produces a monthly estimate based off of updated inflation data for the upcoming year's cost of a living adjustment for two things: Social Security benefits, but also the COLA for FERS and CSRS annuitants kind of tracks that as well. So it kind of can be used to estimate what your COLA could be for your FERS and CSRS annuitants. Now, I will mention that it's not exact, but we kind of look at this to kind of see where things are going as far as cost of living adjustments for folks who are getting an annuity. And the current projection for the 2024 COLA is at about 2.7%. So that would mean for FERS retirees, you would be looking at a 2% cost of living adjustment on your annuity. Now, the actual COLA won't be announced until October. And the reason for that is that the actual COLA is based off of the CPI, which is the year-to-year inflation growth. And they're particularly looking at the months of July, August, and September. So those are kind of the months that they're taking into account when they're figuring out what the next year or the upcoming year's COLA is going to be. So they average those 3 months together, and that ends up being the following year's adjustment for Social Security. So that obviously we're coming out, or the Senior Citizens League is coming out with an estimate in June. That doesn't take into account the 3 months that they're looking at. I want you to take this with a grain of salt. Last year's estimates in July had the 2023 COLA at between 10.5% and 11.4%. And they came in actually about, the actual COLA came in about 2% less than that. So that number is squishy. It could adjust, but that kind of gives us an idea. Certainly looking at 2022 versus 2023, what we're seeing there is that inflation is much more in check this year than what we were seeing last year. And that tracks with what we've seen in the market and the economy overall. So that is my little COLA update. And now Dan.
Well, actually, my comment on that, which sometimes we forget, Fed15 is for active and retired. Okay, so there's 2.2 million active Feds. That more than doubles with retirees. We're here for everybody. Okay, so we're going to cover the stuff that affects Feds. While you're working, afterwards, this is the place to come. We're going to be here for you. So sorry.
Definitely. Yeah. No.
Okay. So we're going to start with the good news. We're going to start with the good news. The good news is that coming out of the Financial Services and Government Subcommittees, which is part of the Appropriations Committee, there are multiple bills for funding the government, which is good. That's Congress's job. Okay. Create a budget, pass bills, fund the government. Federal government is here to do the things that the states and individuals can't do for themselves. So doing their job there. Here's a weird quirk. When the White House proposes a pay raise, if they don't mention it in these bills, typically it means they're going to go with it. So the White House proposed 5.2%, not the wild 8.7 that we were hoping a couple of weeks back. I'm always rooting for you, Feds. And since that is not mentioned, there's sort of an implied consent. The devil's in the details. Things could certainly be changed before it's all said and done. So that's a good sign. But then, and this is where my ire bubbles up, within some of these bills, there are some things popping up. One has to do with return to work and reduction in telework. There's plenty of Fortune 500 companies that are struggling with that right now, too. So I'm giving that one a pass. Katelyn, you know where I come from on this. I believe people are good. I believe people are trustworthy. I believe people like and want to work and will do a good job, and you don't have to stand over them. And I think that's been our experience here at the firm. So I think that is true for mankind in general. But I understand not everybody sees the world the way I do. So I get that's going to be in there. But then we get to something, and I've covered it before. Listeners to our other podcast have heard it. The TSP is really getting big. It's going to, sooner rather than later, it's going to be $1 trillion plan. And Congress, for over a decade, has started, in my opinion, to overreach where TSP is concerned. Because just from a quick search, this goes all the way back to 2007. We had bills for a terror-free TSP. And then in 2008, we wanted an actively managed TSP so we could award contracts to smaller groups. I'm not saying any of these things are bad things, but that's not why the Retirement Thrift Investment Board exists. 2012, socially responsible TSP. 2013, created a gender diversity and empowerment fund within TSP. Again, I'm not saying these are bad thoughts, but the purpose of TSP is to be a state-of-the-art defined contribution plan to take care of the best cadre of civil servants that exist in the world. Okay? They should have a world-class plan. Well, the latest thing now is the no ESG in TSP. And further, it's targeting the mutual fund window, which is the place where you're supposed to be able to do whatever you believe is best for you. And they did it again, Katelyn. They tie in taxpayer money. And here they were a little more careful with the wording that federal employees should not be able to invest their taxpayer-funded salaries in ESG investments within TSP. That, number one, that's not the job of Congress. It's not their job. Their job is not to engineer the world. Their job is to get the U.S. right. Okay, so that's one. Number two, it stops being taxpayer money when it goes into payroll. I'm sorry. I'm right about that one. It just does. And I'm sure, and this is both sides of the aisle, Katelyn. Both sides are doing this. So I'm not picking on one or the other. But invariably, they come back to this language. Taxpayer fund for this, taxpayer fund for that. It ceases to be taxpayer funds when it converts to payroll. It is wages earned for services rendered. And for example, okay, I'm blessed to have my own firm. Do I ask you guys what you're doing with
it? With wages that were paid now?
No, I don't.
No.
Because it's not my place and it's not part of my fiduciary obligation for providing you with a plan. I try and provide the best one I can. That's my job. That's the job. And this beef is not with the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board. Okay? I feel for them. I truly do, because I think they're working really hard to be able to bring this state-of-the-art thing. But this is happening more and more and more, where one side or the other. Couple of years ago, don't forget, the administration was petitioned to replace the members of the Retirement Thrift Investment Board who were simply following through on an initiative that had taken a decade to update the I fund to make it a true international fund, everything but the U.S.
Yeah.
That's a state-of-the-art minimum level component. That your international fund should not just be Europe, Japan, New Zealand, and Australia. It should be the whole world minus U.S.
Right. And the reason for that, I mean, it's actually sort of ironic that this is the episode where we're talking about Harry Markowitz having passed. If we look at modern portfolio theory, building a diversified portfolio necessitates having access to international investments. Because when we say the market, a lot of times, not when we say it, but a lot of times I'll be talking with clients and they'll make mention of the market. Well, Americans tend to think about the market as the S&P 500, but it's not actually. The market is much bigger than the S&P 500, and in fact is much bigger than our own market. We really should be saying the markets, because you have all of this international exposure that feds just aren't getting in the TSP because the I fund is so, and then the I fund gets beaten up because, it doesn't really necessarily always have great returns. Well, no fund does, but it's also not able to be what it should be for you in your portfolio, the diversifier that it should be. And I think, with the ESG, there's a whole other conversation that we could have about the merits and pros and cons of ESG investing. The bigger point that I think you're kind of getting across really well here is Fed should have the option. Fed should have the choice. It should be about choice. If we're going to have a mutual fund window where we have 5,000 investment options, ESG should be a choice. And you can choose to opt in or you can choose to not opt in. And it's
Katelyn,
really not about the merits or the political leanings of ESG. It's just about giving feds the choice to do what they should be able to do with their money.
Yep. You want to hear my estimate on how many of the funds fall under the ESG heading?
How many?
Because I counted.
So it depends, right? It's like this whole thing of it shouldn't be biased. It's like, well, what are we calling biased? Because fund managers...
There's about 50 that have in their titling that it could fall into that heading. So 4,000 to 5,000, that's a pretty small percentage. And so more to the point.
Right.
I'm playing nice here, Congress, right now. I'm playing nice. Pretty please with sugar on top. Stop saying that it's taxpayer money going someplace, because it is wages. And by the way, Congress people and senators, you are paid by taxpayers. Do you want to have to disclose to me what you do with the money?
Right.
Do you want me eyeballing where you put your charitable contributions, for example, and saying, oh, I don't want my money going towards that? Come on, play fair here.
Yeah.
I'm asking nice. I'm playing nice now. Okay. Pretty please with sugar on top. Okay. Quit messing with my Fed's TSP. Pass a budget. Okay. That's it.
I mean, that's fair. Well, we will obviously continue to monitor and update you as more information is released. But I do think we always, and Dan said it, I'll reiterate it. We are, when it comes to financial planning and investment management and helping Feds navigate their benefits, we're apolitical. Both sides do great things. Both sides do not so great things. And really where we stand is we just stand for Feds having the right to kind of choose how they want to spend their money, how they want to invest their money, how they want to plan for the future. But with that said, I think that's about all the time we have for today. It's definitely going to be an ish episode, a 15 minutes ish.
Yeah, that's on me. 100% on me.
That's fine. No, I mean, I think it needed to be spoken about. But we will definitely be back next week to bring you all of the latest updates that you need to make informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed. We're always here to do that.
And be sure to subscribe to this podcast on our YouTube channel and Spotify so you never miss an episode, because you never know what t-shirt I'm going to bring out.
You never know when Dan's going to slip on the black t-shirt. For more information on the topics covered in today's show and more, be sure to check out our blog at stwserve.com and also subscribe to our newsletter, the Weekly Serving, to get all the latest news for Feds delivered straight to your inbox every week.
Ooh, and don't forget our webinars, Katelyn. We've got them every month. We've got the core 4 that happen every single month, and we've got the specials that pop up. So a couple of ones you may want to put some eyeballs on. On July 20th, we've got TSP planning with Ed Zerndorfer, not to be missed. And special. Did I say special enough? Understanding FERS for special provisions employees. Okay, you asked, we did it. So we now have not one, but 2. The other one will be later in the fall that'll deal with TSP for special provisions. So you know who you are. For folks who don't, share it with folks who are air traffic controllers, law enforcement, firefighters. You asked, we did it. That's who we are. So be sure to check those out.
Awesome. Yeah, those webinars for our special provision folks.
Yep.
I think that's all of our housekeeping. I think we made it through the list. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening to the Fed15. Again, I am Katelyn Murray. And this has been... And we'll see you next week, guys. Take care.